tracks like Laguna Seca and Sonoma have become more famous over in California, but one well-kept secret over the years has been Willow Springs. It's fast and it's old school, and it's our venue for tonight as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 12 Club Class, and you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth tonight is Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes is our director, Hugo Lewis. A reminder that Charlie Mobile is sponsoring the Series 12 Clean Driver Award. Charlie Mobile is providing the winner with an Apple iPhone 16 and a year of cell service. Thank you to Charlie Mobile. Let's take a look at the Charlie Mobile Clean Driver standings up to this point in the season. In lead position, we got Mark Foley with only 3 incidents, followed closely by Matthew Jokel with 4. A couple incident points back is David Fernandez, part of the Club Sport group, and then we've got Kevin Jokel tied with him. Then we've got Bryce Rodriguez, Kenneth Eskridge, Christopher Pies, all tied for that 5th position, followed by Derek Cyphers, Aaron Nations, and Dale Green. Let's take a look at our championship standing. As for the club class, it's quite close at the top. It's David Fernandez, only with a 6-point lead over Lenny Holland. And then we've got about 22 points back is Mario Gonzalez in the 3rd position. Very close behind is John Gibson, and tied back there is in 5th position Kevin Jokel, with only 2 points separating himself and Peter Coomer, with 2 points back to Steve Komatz. And then we got Ben Lung, Julian Velez, and Dale Green rounding out your top 10 in the championships for the club series. But Michael, today we've got Willow Springs International Raceway. This is a place you're very familiar with, and a place that's great for club racing.
This place is absolutely designed for club racing. This place started back in the 50s and is essentially unchanged. There's so many movies have been shot out here, so many club races have been done out here. This is a fantastic course that so many people will know from personal experience. Only 9 turns, about 2.5 miles, just a tick over 4 kilometers. This 60-minute rolling start race is going to bring a lot of excitement, because running up into Castrol Corner, turn 1, boy, is that thing banked. It is a lot of fun to throw the cars in there and just kind of hold on, hope those tires got warm on that outlap, and see what happens as you go through there. Hopefully you're not taking it a little aggro on the outside, and well, then it gets pretty exciting after going around rabbits here. There's that interesting uphill climb coming around, folds back on itself. Then you get up into that slow bit up by the Budweiser balcony, you come back downhill, and boy, is it a tight, hard downhill to get over to Monroe Bridge and then back around to the sweeper. Now tonight, these guys are going to have 1 spare car, so if something does go a little wonky, they're able to get back over and get a free car, essentially. They have open setups. Now, open setups is a big thing. You're going to notice tonight, some people are going to have this amazing top end speed, but they're not going to do as well when they get up into that little twisty bit up top of the hill. So watch for the differences in the cars. See who's got that trimmed out, really low downforce kind of setting going on. Now tonight, we're going to have a drive-through at 17 incident points. Incident points happen with things like you drop a wheel off track far enough that the game believes that you've gone too far and it's going to give you an incident. Or if you have some contact, something like that, you can get up to 4 incident points. At 17 of those, you're going to get a drive-through. The next 5, you're going to get another drive-through. And at 25 total incident points, you're going to unfortunately get a DQ. Now, these guys are running with only 60% fuel. They are maxed out at 60%, which means we're going to see some pit stops. So be sure to watch for that pit stop strategy. So when we see somebody who's kind of stuck, can't quite make the pass because the different setups that we were talking about, well, then you're going to have to really make a smart decision on when to make that pit stop and hopefully make that undercut by pitting early. But remember, that next club event, why don't you tell them about it?
Yeah, absolutely. December 4th. Actually, the next club event's going to be a couple weeks from now, but the sport event is going to be on December 4th here at Willow Springs, also on RaceSpotTV. We're taking a look at Andy Jenks as he crosses the line to go to 6th position on his 2nd of 3 qualifying laps. It's lone qualifying out here for the drivers, and only 3 laps for them to set their qualifying times. Currently led by Lenny Holland, with Ben Lung and John Gibson rounding out your top 3, separated by only 0.4 of a second.
Now, watching down the field, though, you've got people like Mario Gonzalez. Mario was about 5th, I think, P5 in practice. So I think he's got a decent chance to get up there. Also, look for some of those other people that really qualify well that you're not used to seeing because, well, sometimes things happen in a race. But I think you're going to see some people surprisingly get up into that higher section because they have actual real-world knowledge of this track. And sometimes people will sandbag a little bit. Gee, I don't know anybody personally who would do that in practice, but sandbagging in practice, sometimes that happens, and you go out in qualifying and surprise everyone.
Looks like David Fernandez has unfortunately gone off track on his 3rd lap, so it's going to put him out of qualifying. Here is Julian Velez in 12th position, trying to improve off of that 1 second off time. He's going to cross the line and is going to improve up to the 4th position. A great qualifying effort from Julian, as Julian is done with qualifying. Looks like the only driver in the top 10 who has yet to finish their 3rd qualifying lap is Kevin Jokel, who's just now coming on to the back straightaway. There's Mario Gonzalez as well, setting their quick time on the track. Here is Kevin as he crossed the line, could not get ahead of Lenny Holland for provisional pole position. Still some drivers out there to set their final times. David Fernandez and Adam Gerling, as well as Dale Green, Dean Chapman, and Chris Shearburn.
Yeah, Mario Gonzalez, we watched right there at the end, was able to snag that P6. Watch for the 777 out there during the race. Mario tends to work pretty well to come through the field and be a real contender in the race. Now, on board here, looking on the roof as we come up to the Rabbits here, a little bit early turn in there. I generally like to hold that corner. You take a little bit later entry and you can carry more speed through and then really get a better exit out of here. This is one thing I notice is a lot of times people try to bum rush that entry to the corner. Speed is made on the exit. So yeah, late braking is a lot of fun, but you really need to make sure you hold that patience there. Now here's this downhill section that I was talking about. This corner is really tricky because it's downhill and it just all the way to the car. The rear end, especially on these Porsches, wants to swing around, but that's a pretty decent exit that we see right there. This is actually really good, coming down into that little non-turn up into the sweeper. And let's see how this lap finishes out. I think he's got a pretty decent one going.
Yeah, and this is Adam Gerling, who's on his 4th lap, so that's just a practice lap for Adam at this stage of the race. So he's going to pull into the pits and going to take a park. But let's take a look at the pole lap here for our pole position driver. That's Lenny Holland. Why don't you walk us through this, Michael?
Absolutely. So he's up into 6th gear, coming up here, finds his braking zone. Just a light touch of the brake. Remember, there's a lot of camber in here, all the way out to the paint. Really well done. Now watch this. Just blends it in, drops it down to 4th, tries to keep the RPM high, really massaging that throttle. It's just balance, balance, balance. Now he's looking for the come on right there and right out once again to the line, and then bang, right onto the brakes, looking up the hill. His brain is around the corner, all the way around Budweiser right here, and he's just trying to set the car up for right here. Now he can blend it out to the outside, come down. He's looking for this left-hander. Early on the brakes, gentle release, and then roll on the throttle because that rear end really wants to come around. Nice up over the Mustang Ridge, and now down to that left side. Hold on to this left side right here. You can see where everybody has been driving, that darker part of the pavement into the sweeper. Now he's going to let it ride on out. He's going to get all the way out to this line. A little bit of a lift. It's not a lot of brake here, and you're looking for this little post right there, and then bam, right under the throttle. Little tiny bit of the dirt. Perfectly done. Beautiful execution as he comes up to cross the finish line.
Absolutely, and that is our pole position driver, Lenny Holland. A great lap there. We're about to head into our warm-up, and so we want to give a big thank you to Playa Vista Insurance Services. At Playa Vista, we're more than just an insurance firm. We're a full-service employee benefits consulting partner, delivering innovative solutions in wellness, compliance, and technology. With fresh perspectives and cutting-edge ideas, we're here to elevate your employee benefits experience. Over 25 years of trusted expertise with a combined legacy spanning nursing, hospital administration, health insurance, brokerage, and employee benefits, Playa Vista Insurance brings unmatched expertise to your business. We understand the ins and outs of healthcare, ensuring that you and your employees get the coverage and support you deserve. Tailored solutions for your workforce. Our deep connection with the healthcare system means we're uniquely positioned to offer benefits that truly support your team's well-being and peace of mind. Playa Vista Insurance is dedicated to designing benefits that are as unique as your business. Contact us today to discover how Playa Vista Insurance can support your team and elevate your benefits program. Let's build a brighter, healthier future together. It is time for warm-up for these drivers, and we're about to cross into that session. And Michael, these warm-up sessions before the race begins, they always tend to build up the anticipation for me as a driver. How do you handle that pressure as you get ready to go to the grid?
I usually take a nap during this time because, there are a lot of people out there and they're trying things still. They're still trying to figure out these last little things. For me personally, I already have my plan. I already know where I want to put the car in the different spots. I know how I want to attack. But if you're still trying to figure it out and you just can't get that little bit on the corner, so you were chasing somebody earlier and they were just pulling away from you in this section, this is the last chance you have to go get it. But like I said, personally, I'm pretty confident when I go out there. And so I like to take the time to kind of get my head back to being clear and clean. Qualifying's done, and now it's just the race ahead of me. And it's just kind of a zen moment for me. And I might even go out on the track and just kind of robo drive, I guess. You just get out there and you go, here's my mark, here's my mark, here's my mark. Okay, I'm hitting my marks, I'm good. Do 2 laps maybe, and then bring it in. You don't have to really push too much. For me, honestly, it's just kind of a relaxing time.
Yeah, relaxing time. That's definitely different than how it has felt for me. But then again, I'm a little bit more of an amateur than you when it comes to being in the car. But that being said, these drivers out there taking some quick laps, trying to figure out what it's going to feel like to get these tires up to temperature with full fuel. The weather today, we're keeping an eye on that in this warm-up session. It's currently 66 out in the air, 68 Fahrenheit on track. And the wind out there has been something that's been interesting. It's 13 miles an hour right now, and that can upset the car just a little bit. But yeah, it's clear skies for these drivers. It's going to be a dry race for them. No rain expected. In fact, we have a rising barometer as well, so we're expecting that ridge of high pressure to stay in place.
I don't expect weather to be too much of an issue today. That wind is, it could give us a little bit of a different expectation for the speeds that we're going to see. This wind is coming out of the southeast, and if you look at how this track is pointed, you can see exactly where they're going to be nose into that wind. So it's going to affect those lap times a good bit. But I think it's been pretty much the same. I've been watching what's been going on. We're seeing anywhere from 13 up to about 16. I saw a gust up to 16 just a second ago. So 16 mile per hour gusts. I don't know if you can call 13 to 16 a gust, but we'll call it a gust. So a little bit of a gust of wind. I think you'll see maybe a little bleed off that top end, but honestly, these cars are very powerful and very slippery. It's really interesting. Have you ever watched these cars up against full-on GT3R?
Absolutely. It's a very interesting experience to see them tackle those GT3Rs. These things look like they're on ice comparatively.
Yeah, it's interesting. They don't have quite the downforce. They don't have the grip. But man, are they fast in a straight line. These, just a normal setup, if you go out and run them, they will actually have a faster, higher top end than the GT3R because they don't have as much drag, and they have roughly the same amount of power. So it's a lot of fun to watch these cars in a sort of multi-class race go and mix it up a little bit.
And today these guys are out there just on their lonesome. Lots of sliding going on here in the warm-up session. Lots of drivers testing their lines, testing the edges of traction. Are expecting them to be a little bit more reserved once they get into the race session, but we'll see. That was Terrence Tong spinning out on their way to the pit lane. And there we see Terrence giving a little bit of a chuckle as we're into the last minute of warm-up time to do the last minute checks, the last minute breaks before you jump back in the cockpit for this hour-long race here at Willow Springs.
I think from that picture there, it looks like Terrence has the same monitor I have. So yeah, if you want to be a cool kid, just look at what monitor he has, and you can be as cool as Terrence is.
Absolutely. There we see some of the last of our drivers coming around the corner. The 007 Ward Preston coming around the corner, shaken, not stirred, and definitely not shaken or stirred out of that final corner. A good line. And that's going to take us to the starting grid with Lenny Holland on pole and Kevin Yokel next to him. Behind Lenny is going to be Ben Lung with Terrence Tong in 4th position. And rounding out your top 6 is John Gibson and Mario Gonzalez, Michael.
7th, we're going to have Julian Velez with Andy Jinks in 8th. 9th and 10th is going to be Kim Fricke and Peter Sigourney. 11th and 12th is David Snelling and Charlie Boyer.
And then we've got in 13th, David Glenn with David Fernandez, the two Davids on 13th and 14th. And we got Robert LaCroix and Robert Neville, the two Roberts, right behind them. Adam Gerling and Aaron Ambrosing breaking the pattern of the same single first names in the 17th and 18th positions.
Dale Green and Lee Binkley will be on the next row, followed by Steve Komatz and Dean Chapman. Chris Sherburne and Ward Preston are going to fill out row number 12.
We got one last driver, Andrew Elsom. The last of the qualifiers. All the drivers did set qualifying times to start this race, and we're now gridded up behind the pace car. It's going to be a rolling start for these drivers, so expect to see the Porsche pace car pull off to the left after they get through the final corner and roll onto the track. Here are track conditions out there: 19 Celsius on track, 20 Celsius in the air. It's interesting to see the difference there with clear skies once again. It's 9:15 a.m. virtual standard time. The date is the same as the real world counterpart. And Michael, what are your expectations heading into this race today for the club class?
Well, I think we're going to see some really aggressive but fair fights right at the beginning as things try to shake themselves out a little bit, and then probably looking through that pit stop rotation for our next really big excitement about what's going to happen. Now, remind me, in this group, do they go on green, or does the pole sitter hold all the cards here?
I guess the pole sitter holds all the cards, but we will see as they get coming up to the line. Looks like Kevin Yokel is trying to put a little bit of an anticipation on Lenny Hall. Lenny is the one on the outside, and it's going to be a go on green for these drivers. So Kevin can try and jump the start just a little bit if he can catch Kenny out sleeping on the green flag. But as they come around the final corner, the pace car getting ready to pull off, and is going to pull off to the left-hand side. There it goes, and it's going to release the field. Lenny Holland will lead them to the line. They'll all go on green, which gives a huge opportunity to people in the back to catch some drivers sleeping. Lenny's waiting for the green flag halfway down the straight. Here we go. Green flag is out, and it's a good jump for both Lenny and Kevin. Looks like Ben Lund got a bad start and is starting to drop back behind Mario Gonzalez, because Mario's going to get a good sweep around the outside of the corner. Kevin Yokel's going to back off and let Lenny Holland go through turn 1 uncontested. Terrence Tong into 3rd position, and Mario Gonzalez, the outside's going to become the inside, but he's going to back off and allow Ben Lund to stay in that 4th spot.
Nice movement there by Ben Lund, coming up, actually falling down one position, but holding on to it. Also, Mario Gonzalez coming up one spot. Terrence Tong also making that move. Really good, aggressive, but fair driving here on our opening couple of laps, coming up into the Budweiser Terrace, taking a look around, making sure everybody is just right in a nice file here. Notice you are not seeing any too wide up there. It gets really dangerous if you try to go too wide. Somebody has to be significantly off speed. But speaking of speed, this is the fastest part of the track.
A little bit of contact from Kim Frick and Charlie Boyer contesting for 10th position, and then it looks like Julian Velez in 7th had a little bit of a bad run coming down the hill a little bit, but all the drivers more or less single file as we go through the final corner for the first time, and Lenny Holland out to nearly a second lead over Kevin Yokel. A great start for Lenny up front.
Yeah, Lenny just trying to put his stamp on this. It's important to get a good gap between you and the cars behind you. There is no DRS like you're used to seeing maybe in Formula One. This is really important. You've got to get out there. You want to get far enough away where there is no advantage of the draft. Everybody else is going to have a good solid draft, but at 9/10 of a second, which is where he is right now, actually just out over a second, 1.1 seconds at this point over Kevin Yokel. Kevin's going to have a hard time trying to keep up there, and hopefully for Kevin, he's going to be able to get a really good exit to be able to run down and catch up to him through sweeper.
Might have seen it on the ticker as it went by, but Ambrosio and Robert LaCroix almost came together in turn one. LaCroix going off track and letting Ambrosio through to 16th position. But right on board with our leader, looking back at Kevin Yokel, that 1 second gap starting to grow to 1.1. Lenny's trying to hold on to that position, but Kevin just not able to hold it close to Lenny. But we got a nice battle for 5th position between Mario Gonzalez and John Gibson, nearly side by side as they head into the final corners. And here we go.
Yeah, watch them right here. This is really good positioning. Oh, John Gibbs getting a little bit too far outside, loses a little bit of speed, but he's still close enough to Mario Gonzalez to stay in those mirrors and be a concern. Coming up into turn one here, roll on that throttle right out to the edge. We watched that same kind of movement happen on that right along for the pole position lap, but look how he's closing up here. But Mario, I think, has the smarter positioning here in that he's being patient. He's just holding on. He's not trying to drive too deep into the corner. That really will destroy your front tires. And if you're wondering why I keep coming back to Mario, it's because I live in Austin. Austin is hill country. Mario's from the hill country region. So not that we're holding favorites or anything, but go Mario. You got this, buddy.
Well, it's also the closest battle on the track right now. Mario Gonzalez a little bit of a bottleneck for the rest of the drivers in 5th position. Then it's John Gibson in 6th, Julian Velez in 7th, and Andy Jenkins down in the 8th position. Single class racing for these Porsches out here today, and a lot of challenge trying to get the pass done. You have to take advantage of the mistakes the driver ahead of you makes. We got a little bit of a dive there for Julian Velez on Gibson. Not able to get any move there as Mario Gonzalez able to hold on to the position. John Gibson falling back, and Andy Jenks takes a little bit of a travel through the gravel off the final corner, falls back to 9th position, and now losing 10th as well.
I was watching from the blimp camera there, trying to figure out what happened. I don't know what happened to him there, but he seems to be okay. It may have just been a little equipment failure, or also I would not put brain fart out of the realm of possibilities through that.
It just looked like he got the left rear tire into the dirt on the exit and had the power in, just ended up sliding across the track. But if we take a look at this battle continuing now, it looks like Mario Gonzalez starting to get a little bit of free air. John Gibson's, though, still under pressure from Julian Velez as they head up the hill. And then we got this battle that we're looking at right now between Kim Frick, Andy Jenks, Charlie Boyer, and David Fernandez from 8th on down to 12th position as they head down the hill. We're riding on board with Andy Jenks now in 10th.
Yeah, a little bit. There we go. That is our little aggro section there. Lost a little bit of time. Lost at least 2 positions in that, it looked like. Oh, we got David Snelling also off from 22nd position.
Yeah, David Snelling falling back. He was actually up closer to the 16th or 17th positions before he went off track there at the top of the hill. Now dropping back down. Penultimate position, unfortunately, for David as we look at a nice pass opportunity for Julian Velez around the outside here of John Gibson. Is he going to be able to make this work? It's the longer line, it's the dirtier line, but John Gibson takes it too deep into the corner. This is going to give an opportunity for Velez around the outside.
This puts Velez in a really nice position. He's got the faster line, but it's also the longer line. But if he can keep this overlap, he needs to maintain overlap as we come out of this corner. Then he's got good position for the next corner as we go up into the Budweiser Terrace. But no, just right, almost kisses the bumper there. That was pretty close. He is getting aggressive. He is ready to get around him, tired of getting held up.
Absolutely. So Gibson now 1.1 seconds behind Mario Gonzalez. So that's a big gap that's opened up just in the last lap alone. And that bottleneck there, you can see it on screen. It's all the way from John Gibson, or rather from, John Gibson in 5th position, all the way back to Robert Neville in 13th now. So the line continues to grow. Next up would be David Glenn, 2.5 seconds back in 14th.
Yeah, up front, we've got a big gap between Kevin Jokel and Lenny Holland. Lenny has been able to open up a 1.2 second lap, about a 1.25 second gap. Now behind Kevin, it's about another 9/10 before we get to Terrence Tong. Meanwhile, Lenny Holland pulls the fastest lap of the race so far. And then behind Ben Lung, we're going to have Mario Gonzalez, also about half a second back. So a nice little grouping there, but big jump from there, a little over a second back to John Gibson in that group we were just watching.
Yeah, and that's Kim Frick, who just went off track. We saw it on the broadcast just through turn 1. Once again, got out those right rear tires on the outside of the track and slid around. That's actually created a nice battle here between Robert LaCroix and Aaron Ambrosino for the 14th position. They're side by side as they go up the hill, and it looks like that's going to be Robert who wins out. Aaron backs out of it just a little bit to try and get another opportunity.
Remember, this is a 1-hour race. You don't want to really run your tires out at this point. You need to maintain those fronts. On this car in particular, the Cup car that is in iRacing, you do tend to be able to overcook those front tires a little bit with the hard braking zones. It kind of coaxes you into doing that, and you have to kind of sit back and relax. And once again, be patient. I know it sounds weird. I remember a broadcast about a year ago. I was sitting there talking to Ross Braun about this, about being patient. And he's like, it's the hardest thing for people to do. You've got to be patient to go fast. It sounds backwards, but it's absolutely the key to being fast out there.
A nice lunge here from Dean Chapman to try and stick up the inside of Aaron Ambrosino. Can't quite hold on to it, and that means he's going to have to back off for this long, winding right-hander. Try and put some pressure onto the rear bumper and the rear wing of Ambrosino rather than around the outside. So Dean Chapman's still holding that position. Mario Gonzalez has gone up the road and tried to challenge Ben Lung as we take a look at what happened to Kim Fricky here. That was just a little bit too much heat into the corner.
Yeah, again, these cars really convince you that you are able to do more than you can. You have got to really slow yourself down when you're driving this car in particular. It really puts a lot of confidence in you. It's easy to feel like you can do more until you suddenly discover you can't, just like that driver did right there.
And look at this line that Mario's taking, a wide line into the final corner that spits about with a massive overspeed on the next competitor ahead, Ben Lung. So nice 5th position, and looking for 4th is Mario Gonzalez. And these three battling together, Terrence Tong, Ben Lung, and Mario Gonzalez. As you can see, Terrence takes it a little bit too deep into turn 1. This gives an opportunity for Mario to go up the inside, thinks better of it, and backs it out.
Yeah, it's a long race again. It's not time to really make those low probability moves. That will come later once you've gotten into your competitor's head and you've started to push and push and push, and they don't now know where you're going. Oh, but we've got a little bit of an attack back here. It looks like John Gibson may have caught back up to Mario Gonzalez.
Yeah, John Gibson is back up to Mario Gonzalez, and that's because Ben continues to overcook the corners just a little bit, takes it a little bit too deep on the brakes fairly consistently, and that's allowed Mario to catch back up to the back. John Gibson has been able to close as well because they're all bottled up behind Terrence Long. So we got a nice battle here brewing for that 3rd position. Last step on the rostrum for these drivers. John Gibson with an alternate line to the final corner, likes to take it a little bit more inside, does a little bit of a diamond here, and then powers it off, and a nice run from John. But Mario also got a nice run, is looking to challenge Ben, so Gibson likely going to have to sit and watch this time around.
Yeah, Gibson's going to have to watch, but Mario's also going to have to watch. He doesn't have quite the speed he needs to catch up to Ben with that particular move. He's going to need for Ben to overcook that corner just a little bit and catch a little bit of dirt on the outside and then not defend it properly. That's really going to be Mario's chance to get there. I think he's going to have to start looking at other opportunities to get around Ben. Ben is just too solid, too exact exacting and has caught up to Terrence Tong now. We've got a pretty tight race now. Terrence Tong, Ben Long, Mario Gonzalez, and John Gibson all in this nice little four-pack right here.
And sorry, we've had a little bit of contact between Kim Fricke and Dean Chapman, who are battling together in for the 14th and 15th positions. And so Kim Fricke recovering once again, but that contact is going to be unfortunate. So let's take a look at a replay here. I believe this is going to be Andrew Elsom, who goes straight on the final corner, just overcooked it, and straight into the outside barrier. That is not the kind of accident that you want to have happening.
I was going to say, it looked like he was making the short version into the pits, but that was a little bit short, early exit for even the short way to get into the pits. So not exactly what you want to do there. There's Kim Fricke with that little oversteering incident there, got the rear end around on that car and tried to recover. Best thing to do, both feet in, stop the car, and then get back out into the race. And oh, you know what? That might have been with a little help.
It was with a little bit of help.
Stewards are going to take a look at that. We're going to have to check in with our stewards here on our back channel and find out if that's something they're going to be looking at. Because right there, that's kind of a 50-50 for me. I think Kim needed to give the room. If I were looking at it, that's the way I would see it. But really, it's PCA rules, and the way they look at that is going to be different than the way we look at it in IMSA or SRO.
Yeah, Kim needed to give the room, but at the same time, there needed to be, Dean made an ambitious move, so it'll be interesting to see how they come down on that. Here we look at the battle for fourth once again, Ben Long and Mario Gonzalez. Mario going to the extreme outside of the track to try and shorten up this final corner once again, and look at the overspeed he has coming down. He's alongside before they hit the start-finish line.
That was quite the run. Beautifully set up for Mario Gonzalez. Now, this is not a track that Mario would be able to drive in real life on a regular basis. Hill Country region, I can tell you, is quite a long ways away from LA. The halfway point from Hill Country region to LA, just outside of LA where this is El Paso, Texas. That's right, you're still in Texas on the halfway point. So that'd be quite a long ride for him. He is doing an absolute brilliant job there for being able to see how to set that up. Beautifully done from Mario Gonzalez.
Just a couple positions back, Peter Sigourney took it too deep into turn one and allowed Andy Jenks to go past for 8th position, so that's a swap there. Just had another accident with David T. Glenn, who's spun out here. We're seeing him on track. This one was what you described earlier, what you thought happened to Kim Fricke, just a little bit too deep into the corner with some of that overspear.
Yeah, that oversteer getting into the corner, pretty easy to do. It is heavily banked as you get up in here, and you think that banking's going to help you, so you start to roll on throttle, and boy, yeah, that does not do that. You can't do it. Again, patience. I know I keep coming back to patience. I have the 3 P's that I always teach. The very first one is patience, and that's what he needed right there.
Riding on board a 911 with 911, this is John Gibson trying to get up to the back of Ben Long. Ben starting to drop positions here as we get into the deeper parts of this race. We're on track for about 48 laps around here at the 1 hour mark. So these drivers still have they have 60% fuel, so we're expecting pit stops today. But John Gibson trying to make the strategy work to push up forward into the top positions before those pit stops.
A little side-by-side action here going up into the Budweiser Terrace. Then looks like they worked that out pretty well. That was good, fair, solid racing. It's both drivers knowing, hey, I've got somewhere to go. I've still got a good bit of time left in this race. I'm only about 17 minutes into it or so. So let's let things happen, and then we can take this fight later. We can figure out where all this is going to shake out after we do the pit stop rotation.
Just a reminder, the PCA Series 12 is sponsored by Playa Vista Insurance Services. At Playa Vista Insurance Services, they're more than just an insurance firm. They're a full-service employee benefits consulting partner delivering innovative solutions in wellness, compliance, and technology. With 25 years of trusted experience and a legacy spanning everything from nursing to hospital administration, they're dedicated to designing benefits that are as unique as your business. Contact them today to build a brighter, healthier future.
So looking back on that Dean Chapman and Kim Fricke incident that we were looking at, the race control has deemed that shared responsibility, just a racing incident, no penalty.
You know, and I believe that's how I would have interpreted it as well. So we see Kim Fricke in yet another battle with David T. Glenn. So these two duking it out through turn 1. They're having some fun out there, even if it's not for the top positions, as Kim Fricke's off track there.
You know, some of the best racing you're going to see is not necessarily the podium or even the fight to get those last couple of positions that could get to podium. A lot of times it's the mid-pack. It's like watching Formula One 2 years ago. Max would take off and go do his thing 45 seconds out in front, but all the rest of the people from like 4th back to 12th or so, beautiful pack of racing, and there was a lot of fantastic racing to be had. We're seeing a lot of the same thing here. You've got Lenny Holland, who was almost 2.5-3 seconds out in front of Kevin Yoko. He's out there just doing his thing. But behind that, all these little races we've been kind of bouncing back and forth between, this is where the really good racing is going on.
Yeah, and this reminded me to go take a look at the points, and our championship leader, David Fernandez, is back in 10th position with Lenny Holland, his championship rival, who's only 6 points back of the championship, in the lead of the race by 3 seconds. So this is a great points day for Lenny, as David's struggling right now, trying to put some pressure onto Peter Sigourney right now.
Yeah, this is a good little battle we're watching right here. This is 9th and 10th, so the battle for 10th. That's going to be Peter Sigourney in the front with the blue and yellow, and then the blue and orange, or should I say orange with blue? Yeah, we'll go with that. Was David Fernandez making a nice run, sticking right up under the tail, looking up to the inside. Now this is an alternate line, and this is one I like to take going through that corner because I think it sets you up better for this part of the corner right here, coming through turn 9. I think it gives you a better positioning and allows you to get to throttle a little cleaner. Let's see how it works for him, but I think yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to get to the outside. See, it's just a whole lot faster heading down there. I think there may have also been a little bit of help from Peter Sigourney at that point. I think he realized somebody's in it for a lot of points, and maybe save it for another day.
The pass going on track, Dean Chapman trying to make it around the outside of Aaron Ambrosino for the 14th position. Those two side by side through turn 1. There we see it with Dean Chapman. Nice run around the outside. It's going to be able to hang on to that position.
Yeah, more really nicely executed passing. I love watching this series because everyone is so thoughtful and responsible. You very rarely have those kind of stupid moments, I want to call, that you sometimes see in racing. And I'm not excluding myself from those stupid moments. I've made them. I've committed them, I should say. So yeah, sometimes you see people getting a little hot-headed. But honestly, when I watch the PCA racing, I really love watching how much they are hard fighting, but still considerate.
And as we're watching this battle, one for 3rd position continues to tighten up, with Terrence Tong hanging on with just a little bit of grip to the 3rd spot, with Mario Gonzalez half a second back, then Ben Lung half a second back, and John Gibson half a second back. These 3 drivers pretty evenly spaced on track as they're all battling for that final spot on the podium. Terrence is about a second and a half back of Kevin Jokel for 2nd.
I think right now Ben and Mario are really in the catbird seat. They're able to sit back and let Terrence pull them along. They're not going to need to use as much fuel. They may use a little more tire, but when it comes time to go into the pits, they are going to be slightly quicker on fuel take, how much fuel they take in, assuming their calculations are correct when they get there. Now, once that starts to roll through, does that half a second less of fuel work to their advantage? It remains to be seen. I'm kind of curious to see how this strategy is going to play out for these guys.
But Lung still a little bit deep into the corners. John Gibson trying to find the correct alternate line to get by. There we see Ben taking it very deep. Going to make it through that time around, as John took it a little bit too conservative through the final corner. And that's going to give Ben some breathing room to try and catch back up to the back of Mario Gonzalez, who's right on the back now of Terrence Tong, trying to put some pressure on there for 3rd.
Yeah, John Gibson was trying a little bit alternate line there. It was a reasonable idea. I think he watched as Mario Gonzalez did that earlier. He was hoping he could turn it in, but I think his turn in point was just a little bit off. I think he could have had maybe about this sounds really picky to say, but about 3 meters, 4 meters later, which, okay, he's doing 160 miles an hour. How are you supposed to judge that? Well, you actually can. You can feel it. There's a certain feel. And when you get there and you make that turn in, you're like, oh my God, that was it. I need to remember that little squiggly mark on the track is where I need to turn. So right now we are once again on board. This is going to be Terrence Tong looking back at Mario Gonzalez. Terrence is really holding his own, and I think he's just trying to hold these guys up. He might be trying to get them to overuse their tires so later in the race they don't have tire. They may get a little bit faster pit stop because they're not taking on as much fuel, but look at that. Oh, Terrence goes all the way out, just covers the paint. Really good run from Mario Gonzalez, and behind him, this is on board with Mario, looking up in there, just not able to get the speed like we saw before. But if you were to see behind what's going on, boy, Ben Lung and John Gibson, they are really going at it.
Absolutely. And John Gibson, who's tucked in behind Ben Lung for that 5th position, is trying to put the pressure on, trying to get Ben to continue to dive it deep into those corners, make another mistake that might give John the opportunity to sneak by. Here we go into the top section where Ben's made the mistakes before. But the trouble is that as you continue to progress and race through this track, you tend to learn your mistakes and tend to be able to correct them. A good driver is a teachable one, and Ben seems to be solving the issues that he had earlier on in the race, and the consistency is continuing to improve, which is making him an even harder quarry for John Gibson.
One thing I love to bring up when I'm coaching people, either on the sim or in real life, is there is glory in a great mistake. Sometimes you get in and maybe you turned in too late and it didn't feel right or didn't seem right, but suddenly you get in there and that late turn in or that early turn in or whatever it was, braking 20% less, whatever that mistake was, turned into something really good. But right now, really good is going to be John Gibson going up the inside. Looks like he's got position on Ben Lung. Ben Lung is trying to fight back as we go into Rabbit's Ear. Is he going to be able to hold on to this? He gets a little bit of overlap and decides to save this for later in the race. No, he started to come back. Oh, this is a really nice battle. John Gibson finally able to take that position away. John Gibson up into P5.
It was an interesting choice. John Gibson had the choice of the inside or the outside. Ben was right up the middle of the track, down the front straightaway, and John chose the inside and allowed Ben to be on the preferred line. But then he let the car drift out to the middle of the corner through turn 1, and that forced Ben to back out of the corner just a little bit to avoid going onto the dirty part of the racetrack, and that allowed John just enough of an edge to keep Ben on the back foot through turn 2, and that's what gave John the position. Now John's free to try and run up to the back of Mario Gonzalez and see if he can get into that battle for P3.
And John, no stranger to catching Mario Gonzalez. We've seen him do it at least 3 times in this race, so look for a 4th time for him to try to catch up there. But meanwhile, Mario does have his eyes only 3/10 back on Terrence Tong. Terrence trying to hold on to that position. Mario coming back around. This is good. Mario looks like he's got overlap. Is he going to be able to get around him, though? Nope, he is not. He let it go, held on for another lap or 2 to see if he can do it. But I think right now he's honestly just testing the waters. He wants to see where he's got speed on him, where he can really push it, and maybe push Terrence into a mistake. Now, from experience, I can tell you Terrence is not one to make mistakes. So Mario, good luck on getting him to make one.
Looks like Peter Sigourney had a little bit of an issue, took it too deep into the top of the course, so just recovering is Peter with Robert Neville behind him. So unfortunately for Peter, just lost the position to Charlie Boyer there, but he's back going once again. Another battle on track, as we've been watching the battle for 3rd, is the battle for 7th. Julian Velez, Andy Jenks, and David Fernandez. David Fernandez, current championship leader, but not as they stand on track, with Lenny Holland in the lead of the race, and David Fernandez back in 9th position, following Jenks and Velez in the battle for 7th.
Yeah, sometimes the track speaks to you, sometimes it doesn't. And this may be a track that doesn't have the flow that works for David Fernandez, as we watch the replay there of Peter Sigourney going off in turn number 3. That is an interesting little section. You can get over speed as you come in there, so it's easy to kind of fool yourself into thinking you can make it. And these cars, no ABS, so you can't just stand on it and hope for the best. And you really don't want to lock them up, because then you're going to have really overheated tire surface, and you're going to lose that grip for at least, I would say, about 3/4 of a lap, maybe even a little more than that. But right now we are on board. Look at this alternate line we're seeing right here. This is a nice alternate line. That was on board with David Fernandez coming down into this little jink right here. Does he get the speed? Is he going to be able to run this down? This is a really nice run. Keep watching here from on board with David. Let's see if he takes this alternate line. Oh, all three made that alternate line, the one I like to use going through that corner.
Absolutely. And David Fernandez doing a good job being very patient behind Andy and Julian. I'm sure it's frustrating to be back here in the 9th position, but not putting any pressure on the drivers up ahead, letting them battle and trying to just run a clean race as Jenks with a nice move up the outside. Got to try and sweep around the outside here of Julian Velez, but onto the dirty portion of the racetrack, and both of them take it a little bit deep into the corner. David Fernandez with nowhere to go, unfortunately. Not an overspeed, no opportunity. Can't quite get past, so he's going to have to stay tucked in behind.
Yeah, now is his opportunity if these guys get into a deep battle. Watch as he tries to look up here, looks around the outside. He is really trying to get into the head. Oh no, as he goes around. Oh, that's a spin from David Fernandez. He made that same mistake I was telling you about before, and then almost comes out into traffic. That was just heartbreaking for David Fernandez.
But David, fortunately, no contact with any other drivers, drops 5 positions back to 13th, and this is going to be a challenge of a day for David, riding on board with that mistake. And look at that, just a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of spin of the left rear tire coming into turn 3.
Yeah, that's just being a little bit too aggressive on the throttle. And when I say a little bit too aggressive is really not the word to use there, because it doesn't take much. You really only want to be at about 35% throttle at that point. You get to 37, 38, 40, it's going to come around. You've got to be super gentle on the throttle right there, because these cars just want to come around on you at that point.
And as we get further on in the race, the cars will want to come around even more, as we see, look at this, David T. Glenn coming into the pits, our first driver to hit the pit stops. We're expecting somewhere in the 14, high 13s for these drivers in the pit stops. We'll keep an eye on the times and the time in the lane. So an early pit stop here for David T. Glenn, and followed closely by David Snelling behind.
Yeah, that was kind of an early pit stop, but if he's doing a 50-50, so now one thing you might try to do here is only put half the fuel in. So you have a limit of 60, but you don't have to go all the way to 60. So if he only put 50% of fuel in, so his car would be a little bit lighter, a little less tire wear. Now he's going to spend a little more time in the pits taking fuel on, but does it work to your advantage? If you're mid-pack, it's actually an interesting way to play the game, to get in there and make sure you are in the pits early. And then when you get out, you are in clear air and you have the race all to yourself.
Little bit of an inside cheat there for Robert LaCroix. Not enough overspeed to challenge here, but Robert Neville, on the other hand, is going to challenge around the outside of Peter Sigourney and try and make this work. Backs off just a little bit early, and both of them are going to carry it deep into the corner. It seems to be a pattern for these battles into turn 1. That gives Robert LaCroix a great opportunity up the inside, which becomes the outside here, and makes a pass on Robert Neville, and is going to get into that 11th position, now putting pressure on Peter Sigourney.
Now, did I read that correctly? Robert Neville lost 2 positions in that exchange?
It appears so, yes.
So good on him. Honestly, if he'd have gotten frustrated because of the pass and tried to push back, that could have created a bad situation. He was smart, sat back, let it happen, and now he can go back and fight back on it. If he'd have tried to overdrive the car a little bit there, ooh, and it looks like he might be getting into the overdriving as he just touches off track a little bit. But now we got this 4-car train. That would be David Fernandez in the back in P13, trying to recover some of these positions. So watch for him to be coming through here like a freight train.
Coming through like a freight train. Here they come onto the front straightaway one more time. Can anyone put pressure on any of the other drivers? The answer is no, not this time around. And this great action that you're seeing is sponsored by Playa Vista Insurance Services. They're more than just an insurance firm. They're a full-service employee benefits consulting partner delivering innovative solutions in wellness, compliance, and technology with 25 years of trusted experience and a legacy spanning everything from nursing to hospital administration. They're dedicated to designing benefits that are as unique as your business. Contact them today for a brighter, healthier future. And some of the drivers out here are looking for a brighter, healthier future as well. We've got a big pack back here tucked in behind Dean Chapman for 14th.
Yeah, Dean Chapman just made a beautiful move on Adam Gerling. Went around the outside, a little Buffalo Gals action there. Adam Gerling, again, not trying to overfight that, not trying to...
Oh, contact behind! Kim Fricke again is involved in an incident with Steve Komatz, and Kim Fricke just a little bit slow over the top of the hill. I don't think Steve expected that, and that led to the contact between the two of them. Both of them recovering, but they're going to fall behind Dale Green, and Chris Sherman's going to be stuck in the middle. I believe Chris is going to go by, and Kim Fricke's going to have to recover.
Yeah, Kim Fricke trying to recover from that. Chris Sherburne able to get ahead. Let's see if Kim is able to get back around. There's the replay. Steve Komatz taking responsibility, saying over the radio, sorry about that. So I think there may be a time penalty coming to him. We'll see what happens. We'll watch the chat from the race control and report that as we find out.
Yeah, the challenging part is Kim Fricke might be fairly close on incident points for that drive-through, so that would be an unfortunate event for Kim. Looks like we have another pit taker. That's Steve Komatz, who's come into the pits. We continue to watch this battle. That's for the third position between Terrence Tong, Mario Gonzalez, and John Gibson.
Yeah, I think it looks like to me he is on 10 incident points, unless I'm reading it. No, I think he's on 11. I think he has 11 incident points. So one strong car-to-car contact is going to be another 4. That's going to put him at 15. And then all he needs is 2 times with a wheel off, and that's going to be a drive-through.
Tight battle here as Mario Gonzalez putting the pressure on Terrence Tong in a way that he has not yet so far this race, and that's pushed Terrence Tong to increase his speed, and they're right on the back of Kevin Jokel for second position. So that's some tight racing there between the two of them. You can see Mario using an alternate line to just try and get a little bit of breathing room there and continue to put pressure on Terrence.
Yeah, Mario trying to play a little bit of a mind game here against Terrence Tong. He knows Terrence is very fast. He knows Terrence is a good, solid driver. He's just trying to fill up those mirrors with headlights. He knows he can sit there in his headlights. He knows he can hang on. It's one thing to catch somebody. It's something completely different to get around him. He's going to need, he as in Mario, is going to need Terrence Tong to make a mistake. We ride on board right now with Terrence as we have our view of him taking a nice deep breath, let it out there. That's right. I often do this. I have my engineer come over the radio every once in a while. He can see my lap times aren't going well, that they're heading in the wrong direction, and he comes on and he says, Michael, take a breath. We watch Terrence Tong there, nice. Just let it in, big breath, and let it out. Now watch what happens. He's opened this back up. Again, patience. You've got to be patient in the car. Terrence Tong now has opened it back up to just over right about half a second. So nice work from Terrence.
Dean Chapman in and out of the pits with a 19.6, a slow stop for him, unfortunately, as it looks like we might have another driver come into the pits. That's Steve Komatz to serve his penalty. He was delivered a penalty by race control for incident ownership. So unfortunately for him, that is a drive-through penalty for him, absolutely. So look at this, a little bit more pressure going on here. That's Andy Jenks putting pressure on Julian Velez for 7th.
Yeah, back in P7, Julian just trying to get up and around, but it looks like Jenks is going to hold on to that, going back around the outside, not having any of it. But watch what happens here. This is going to be really interesting. We've got an opportunity here. I think Velez has a good run at this point. Nice setup, a little bit too much curving there. And now he's under attack from Charlie Boyer. Is Boyer going to be able to close this up and make a double pass? That is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, so it was a good pass from Jenks, putting pressure on Velez, making him go deep through 3. And now Boyer's trying to put pressure on Velez to make a mistake in the final corner. Nothing happening this time around. Velez is going to hold on to that position and is going to duck into the pits to try and break up this battle, not get caught up into a battle. So Velez, the first of our top 10 runners to jump into the pits.
Yeah, Velez was communicating then to Charlie Boyer. Boyer had a really good run on him, and Velez got on the air and said, "Hey, I'm jumping into the pits here, so don't try to pass me. It'll work out better for you." So Charlie Boyer actually staying behind just a little bit better for it. So he's got about 8/10 to catch up to Andy Jenks. Let's watch what he can do here to see if he can catch back up. Meanwhile, back up front, it looks like Mario Gonzalez has lost a little bit of ground to Terrence Tong. Tong opening that up, but John Gibson right on his tail, only about 0.3 of a second off. This is starting to really heat up. What did I say before? How many times has John Gibson caught? Let's just call it 100 at this point, because I just decided to stop counting, and 100 sounds good to me.
13.6 in the box for Julian Velez. I'm reading 24.9 in the lane as we see Mario pulling off for the pit stop. So the first of this lead battle to break it up, and our leader's actually starting to go through traffic. So it was a good timing for Mario to take this pit stop.
Yeah, smart from Mario. He saw that John Gibson had caught back up to him, and he was really putting pressure on to Terrence Tong. Meanwhile, between that puts Dean Chapman in between Tong and Gibson. So can Dean maintain his position? He's back in 21st right now. He knows these guys are going to have to pit. Now, Dean Chapman has already done his pit stop, so he's kind of out of position, kind of in position. So he's not really messing up anyone, as we see Mario Gonzalez coming out of pit lane right now.
And interestingly, 12.9 in the box, our shortest pit stop of the day so far, 37.1 in the lane for Mario Gonzalez. And it's entirely possible, depending on how long the pit stops are in the series, for someone to lap you while you're in the pit lane here. Not happening this time around, as we see our leader Lenny Holland 10 seconds to the good over Kevin Jokel. What a run Lenny is having. Consistent, clean, fast lap times, lapping half a second quicker than anyone else in the field. An impressive drive for sure from Lenny Holland.
If I didn't know better, I would say Lenny is from one of the California regions and drives here a lot. I'm not sure which region he's from because I forgot to look it up. But there we go, Peach State. Maybe he's from Georgia and lives in California, because I can tell you this is nothing like Road Atlanta.
Nothing like Road Atlanta for sure. Robert LaCroix into the pits from the 10th position. So LaCroix, another top 10 driver, taking to the pit stop there. Liz LaCroix in the lane. Absolutely nailed the box. So once again, 12.9 is the fastest. And unfortunately for Robert, looks like he's got a penalty possibly for incident points. So we'll take a look at why that may be the case. I believe it was incidents, unfortunately for Robert. So possibly speeding in the pits as well. We'll have to take a look at that later. But Robert LaCroix going to have a little bit longer in the box.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Robert. It happens. Sometimes you overrun that pit entry a little bit. Looks like Dale Green may have gotten one as well.
And Andy Jenks is off track, majorly off track at the top of the hill. Andy just took it too deep on the exit of 3, ended up spinning himself out at the top of the hill. So Andy Jenks falling back a couple positions back to 10th.
That puts him in 10th place behind David Fernandez, a good bit behind David. He's got at least about 2.5 to almost 3 seconds to David Fernandez. So that was quite damaging to his race. Meanwhile, if we take a look here, there he goes. Just Yeah, you just miss it sometimes. It is hard at this track because it's essentially desert. It's high plains desert. You've got a little bit of rolling hill here and there. You can see off in the distance there. There aren't a lot of markers. You don't have a lot of visibility out here for things to see. You can't look at that tree and know, oh, I'm at this angle to the tree. When it crosses my rear view mirror, I know that's where I need to do this. You don't get that here because there's so few things out there. You just have to really pay attention to those little marks on the track.
Michael, I'm taking a risk and I'm doing math in the booth, and I'm looking at Mario Gonzalez, who's 46 seconds back of the lead. Our leader, Lenny Holland, just coming to the pits right now. So if he's 46 seconds back of the lead and Lenny Holland's had about an 11-second gap, that means that he would be 35 seconds back of Terrence Tong, who is going to come into the lead, or rather Kevin Yokel, who was in second and is now in the lead. And that means with 37 seconds in the box, even if the drivers that he was battling with took as little fuel as he did, and he has the least amount of fuel today at 12.9 seconds in the box, that would mean that he would come out with a second ahead as they exited the lane, which means with speed up time and tire warm up, that would be about 3 seconds gap.
Yeah, remember that pit lane time is cone to cone. So there is deceleration to get to the cone, the first cone as you're entering the pits. And then there's your time stopped in the box. And then you go again. You're still at the pit limit. You're at the pit lane limit speed there. And then when you hit that next cone, then you can release it. And that's where it's timed. But you are not at racing speed at that point. So even though we're saying it's 38.2 or 37.1 from cone to cone, they're not necessarily, that's not really the gap. So this could start to get really interesting here.
Lenny Holland did it out in 14 seconds from the box, 38.2. Oh, Kevin Yokel into the pits. So Kevin into the pits from second position, or rather from the lead, so provisional second position, given that Lenny was 10 seconds ahead. So Ben Lund also into the pits. Here's the opportunity. We're about to see how quick Mario Gonzalez is and whether or not he's going to be able to pass these guys when they're in the pits.
So I want to try to keep an eye on Lenny Holland right now and look at this pit. Maybe we can get a split screen to see where Lenny Holland is. He's coming down past, looks like he has passed the start-finish line. So
and here
that's
comes
gonna
Mario
put him in front.
Mario Gonzalez coming down with a head of speed as well with Kevin Yokel, and Mario's going to pass Kevin through turn one. That's a pass with pit strategy for Mario Gonzalez. Mario Gonzalez in provisional second position right now.
Nice timing from Mario Gonzalez. He played that beautifully. This is why I love races with pit stops. It's not just about the driving. It's not just about the setup. It's about how you play the entire game. Racing is a team sport. Now here, a lot of times it's just you and you make your own decisions, but it really is all about putting all these things together. When do you jump into the pits? When do you take on the fuel? How much fuel do you take on? Did he put on a light load and have to lift and coast a little later? He's got enough of a lead right now over Kevin. That is 8/10 between Mario Gonzalez and Kevin Yokel. So Mario currently sitting in P8, but effectively, like you were saying, it looks like he's going to be P2.
And Terrence Tong into the pits now. This is the driver that Mario is directly behind before the pit stops. And Terrence, 11.8 in the box. Terrence, I think, is going to retain second by underfueling the car. So Terrence Tong going off into turn one right now as Mario Gonzalez enters at speed. Terrence still 1.7 ahead. But does he have enough fuel, or is he going to have to lift to get to the end? So Terrence Tong right now with a big gap that he can play with towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I feel like he underfueled a little bit there, but maybe not. Meanwhile, looks like we've got a penalty for Boyer.
Charlie Boyer, the 013, has a penalty. So quite a few drivers who are going to be struggling to maintain their positions on the Charlie Mobile Clean Racer board for this series. So unfortunately for them, dropping further back with the amount of incident points that they're getting these drive-through penalties. There we see John Gibson coming through. John leaving from what was the lead and is going to filter back somewhere around P8, P7. Chris Sherburne at this stage is the last driver who has yet to come down pit lane, but Steve Comat still needs to take his full pit stop. His was a drive-through.
Yeah, drive through there. Now, meanwhile, looking back up towards the front, looks like Lenny Holland is going to move back into first position. John Gibson just coming out of the pits. Looks like Terrence Tong just went past him. Is Mario Gonzalez going to be able to come around as well? Looking at those cool tires, John Gibson holding on to P3. Mario Gonzalez behind him. John Gibson has passed Mario Gonzalez in the pits. He caught him 11 billion times through the race up to now, but look at this. Mario is not having any of it. He's like, dude, I got the hot tires. You were just in the pits. Let's see if Mario is able to make something out of this.
Well, they didn't change tires in the pits, but still the tires do cool off while they're in there and they go through their heat cycle. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Mario can get this pass done. But I would expect that at this stage, John's tires are going to be up to temperature. So it'll be very interesting. And we're getting reports that we have a driver on 20 incident points. It's very, very close. That's David Glenn, who's now coming into the pits. So 20 incident points gets the second black flag for David. That's a rough race for him and very close to that disqualification number.
Very easy to pick up those incident points at this track right there. Just as we watch Mario Gonzalez go outside, that was right on the edge. He might have gotten an incident point for that. Maybe not. It's hard to tell. You can take a little bit of the grass there, but here we are on board with Gonzalez once again. He is used to driving now. He's got a couple of more laps of this full fuel. Remember, John Gibson, the one we see right there in front of him, he's just come back out with full fuel. He was just on low fuel. You kind of have to retune yourself. Gonzalez making a good run here, getting up into the mirrors, pulling a little John Gibson on him as opposed to the other way around.
At the same time, if I'm Mario, I gotta think big picture. We still need to catch Terrence Tong, and John Gibson has been quicker, at least when being aggressive. If you make John look in his rearview mirrors, is he going to make mistakes that he wasn't making when he was trying to catch you? Because if that's the case, it might behoove Mario to back off just a little bit and give John some breathing room to try and catch up to Terrence and bring both of you into the battle for P2. Because no one's catching Lenny today so long as Lenny doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, interestingly, it was the exact thing that I would have coached at that point as well. Now look at this run. That is a beautiful run. Ooh, just a little bit of body-to-body contact. Mario is not looking to wait. He feels like he's got the pace, and as they come up into turn one, looks like Gibson's going to go around the outside and hold on to the position. Mario just trying to not slide out into him, not comfortable trying to push that turn quite as hard. He was comfortable taking the position, but I think that was more of a tester. Let's see what he does this next time around.
But Michael, they lost half a second to Terrence in that battle. They might win the battle, but they're going to lose the war to Terrence Tong, who underfueled the car and still might have to lift and coast towards the end of this. But we have to once again that our race today is sponsored by Playa Vista Insurance Services. They're more than just an insurance firm. They're a full service and employee benefits consulting partner delivering innovative solutions in wellness, compliance, and technology. With 25 years of trusted experience and a legacy spanning everything from nursing to hospital administration, they're dedicated to designing benefits that are as unique as your business. Contact them today for a brighter, healthier future.
Now, meanwhile, this little battle that we've been watching between Mario Gonzalez and John Gibson has a new face. Looks like Kevin Yokel has decided he wants to come play too. So the battle Mario was trying to bring to John has allowed Kevin to come in, and the gap up to Terrence Tong from John Gibson is now 1.5 seconds, 1.4, 1.5 seconds. So that little battle sort of messed them up a little bit, but I think honestly, Mario is going to be happy if he gets that P3. I don't know that he's necessarily looking to the P2. He knows that, a little bit of connection issue there.
Yeah,
looks like and a little bit of back marker issue there as well.
Yeah, Mario Gonzalez had to back off quite a bit there, allowing Kevin Yokel to fall in line there, unfortunately. So just a tough run there for Mario with that connection issue. Probably just lost track of where Andrew Elsom was as they were trying to go around him, a back marker here. So that's going to leave Mario with 1.2 seconds back to John Gibson, but this frees up Gibson to try and go up and catch Terrence Tong as we enter 10 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, this race is starting to wind down. I am really curious about that.
Mario's off! Mario takes it too deep into the final corner.
He was trying to set up that same pass that he did before, and he goes aggro. That's going to put Mario back into P5 behind Kevin Jokel. But Ben Lung is going to be right on his tail as we come up into turn one. Ben Lung getting up into the inside and around. Mario's going to have to fight this back. He had such a good run earlier. All it takes, though, is one mistake. Now he's going to look out to the outside. He's going to try to carry this through. Got a little bit better speed in the early part of the corner, but Ben Lung is being patient, waiting to put that throttle down as they get to the top of the hill, puts it down, runs all the way to the outside, comes into the braking zone, and holds on to the position.
Mario's passed Ben once already, but Ben has been improving lap times over the course of this race. There you see the mistake for Mario, just getting that tire on the dirt on the outside, and that dirt, it's just silt out there. It just makes you slide completely out there, and you just spend so long outside the track trying to recover. He lost 3 positions and backed behind Ben Lung, who was a good 7 seconds back before that incident. So heartbreak for Mario.
Yeah, heartbreak for Mario, but Ben is pretty happy about this. Ben Lung in that Brumos livery there. That's the new Brumos livery that came out a couple of years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, when Porsche re-entered. Very cool. If you take a look at that up close, you'll see a lot of things you might recognize in the stripes that are on the car. That blue and red stripe. There are a bunch of little things in there. It's always interesting to take a look at these cars up close.
Both of them tracking out very wide through turn one. Ben and Mario absolutely pushing it to have this battle with each other. And I can report John Gibson, when he's been released and free and clear, he's now within 0.6 of Terrence Tong for second position. So looking in that rearview mirror was not helping him. And he's putting some pressure on Terrence, who might have, like we said, underfueled the car, might be having to lift and coast. So this is going to be, John's going to be licking his chops at this point.
Yeah, Terrence, though, is quite experienced. He understands what he needs to do here. He can lift and coast and keep John Gibson behind him if he plays it right. Now, if he just miscalculates something a little bit, or if John is able to see the lift and coast that's happening more than he thinks it should, he may be able to pounce on it. But again, Terrence is a really good driver, and I think Terrence might be able to hold on to this even if he did under fuel.
Absolutely. We've seen it before in many different series, how you're able to save fuel and keep drivers behind. It's harder to chase and save fuel, but now that they're tucked in one beneath the other, if John's short, he can spend a little bit of time back here, 7 minutes to go. So we've still got, about 4.5, maybe 5 laps to go as you see John dipping those right side tires into the dirt on the inside. Doesn't affect you as much as the outside, able to do so and gain a little bit of traction there, but Terrence Tong looking like his tires are a little spent as well.
I think this is Terrence actually not necessarily doing a lift and coast, but an 85-95% push through here. He is, I believe, trying to save fuel. If we look at what's going on with his lap times, his last lap was a 1:16.4. Let's see what he does this time as they come around here. We're getting close, coming up to the sweeper here in just a second. We're going to find out what he's doing, but I believe he is actually trying to save some fuel at this point. Yeah. Now here, here he really needs to put the hammer down. You cannot do any lollygagging at this point. And gets just 2 wheels off there, and this is going to be close. Look at this run. John Gibson is getting close.
Yeah, it was a 116.4 the previous lap to John's 115.7, and now this time around, it looks like Ben and Mario have swapped positions for 5th. So Mario Gonzalez is able to get the pass done before they got to turn 1. So Mario Gonzalez up to 5th position, but 5 seconds back of Kevin Jokel. So there's not going to be much that he can do there. There we see the 2 of them, and here is the pass. Just a good run off the final corner, Michael.
Yeah, this is that same run that Mario has set up. I think he's made about 471 billion passes this way. I watched him time and time again just make that beautiful run and set up all the way to the outside. He's really got that down. He knows how to make that run and use it to his advantage. Meanwhile, he was able to get back in front, but this is taking a look here again. This is going to be back with this is going to be Neville and Fernandez once again. These guys are in a battle. This is nose to tail, back and forth. Fernandez trying to get back around, looking left, looking right, touching a little bit of the grass. There's no grass here. Who am I kidding? Well, look at that line. A little bit wide there for Neville.
Yeah, David trying to make his recovery drive. Not the day he was hoping for. Championship leader coming into this round and just did not qualify super well and is now back there in the 10th position. So David, he's up 4 for the day, so it's just qualifying caught him out, unfortunately, and his recovery drive was mired by an incident that occurred earlier that dropped him back down another 3 positions, still putting heavy pressure there on Robert, but not able to get alongside before they get to turn 1. He's going to try and put a nose in around the outside and force Robert to take the shallow line. Nothing doing this time around. Robert maintains position. Up in the P2 battle, John Gibson still putting pressure on Terrence Tong for 2nd position. Lenny Holland up to 13 seconds. He lost a couple seconds in the pit stop. He took some extra fuel, but he had the time to do it, and still 13 seconds ahead of Terrence Tong.
And an interesting note, David Fernandez has our fastest lap of the race so far. It was a 1:15.1, I believe, was his fast lap, and that was on the last lap. So he's really out there cooking it. It was a 1:15.195. Last lap, unfortunately, was a 1:17, got held up just a little bit. And meanwhile, the battle is not over. Ben Lung, he's not going to just take this lying down. He is making a push up for Mario Gonzalez. I don't think he liked the fact that Mario got around him so much. Not that any racer likes to get past, especially when you've got such a tight battle like these two have been having.
2nd position up for grabs now as well. You saw there John Gibson putting a nose on the inside of Terrence Tong. Thinks better of it into 3, probably for the best. We've seen an incident there already today that sent 2 drivers around, and they can't risk anything. Kevin Jokel's only 2.7 seconds back, so Kevin could take away this podium for one of these drivers.
If Terrence wants to be smart, he's going to hold John up as much as he can through that slow section and then just slingshot the car as he comes through this part right here. Terrence has a good feel for the car right here. He knows, I've been watching him. He's taking multiple lines as they come through here, just setting the car up right. Now he can hold John Gibson back, and that will put Kevin right on his tail, and that will take a little bit of pressure off of him. But Kevin is still 3 seconds to the rear of these guys, so that's going to be a Herculean effort for him to try to make that happen. So John Gibson actually still in a pretty good position as we watch Terrence Tong still go defensive right up the inside here, wants to hold onto that inside line, make John Gibson go far around the outside, and then get on the gas just in time to hold that out. And then look at this. I think that's exactly what he's doing. I think you were right calling it that it was a short fill on the gas, but I think he's doing a brilliant job right now holding him back.
Absolutely. And John Gibson very frustrated now in that third position, wants second, but also can't put too much pressure onto Terrence and make a mistake himself. But we need to look at Lenny Holland. He's going to be coming through the final corner, and he's going to be coming onto the white flag lap this time. Lenny Holland is in a good position, still 12 and a half seconds ahead of that battle. There is Lenny on the front straight for the penultimate time. Going to cross the line with 104 to go as we look back at the battle with John Gibson and Terrence Tong. Gibson looking for a good run out of the final corner. He's got it. He's going to be alongside in one.
This is getting pretty tight. Can Terrence Tong hold? Look at this defensive position from Terrence. It's going to hold him down to the inside. A little bit of a pinch. John thinks more of it, wants to finish this lap, knows that a crash is only going to take them both out. Meanwhile, from YouTube on Lenny Holland, J Mad says, Lenny and I live about 15 minutes from Road Atlanta. No track time anywhere for him. And go flat six adventures.
Kim Fricke unfortunately has a meatball flag, so will not finish this race under their own power. And look at that, John Gibson a little bit deep through three. This is the first time that Terrence Tong has forced a mistake out of Gibson this time around. So Gibson, not much he can do at this stage in the race. But he's going to try and put pressure onto Terrence as we come down to the line. But Lenny Holland coming through the final corner for the final time. Lenny has had command of this race from the drop of the green flag. He was allowed to go by Kevin Yokel and has come across the line. Our winner here at Willow Springs for the club race for PCA. Great finish for Lenny Holland. But here is that battle for second position with John Gibson trying to put pressure on Terrence Tong. Can he make it past? And the answer is yes. He made it. I think I think you called it right. I think he's out of fuel. I think Terrence did everything possible to work that last thimbleful of fuel, but just couldn't quite do it. Ends up in P3. But hey, brilliant P3, I would like to add. Thank goodness that we don't have the measurement rules in some of the other series, but look at this. Peter Sigourney putting pressure on Adam Gerling for 11th position. They've been battling for the last couple of laps, and Peter trying to make it around the outside here as Adam's going to try and stick it down to the inside. Peter's going to try and swap it over here and get some good run out of the corner. He's got a good run. Who's going to get this position, Peter or Adam, as they come down to the line? It's going to be tight between the two of them, and it's going to be Peter Sigourney by a nose.
Wow, that might have been less than a nose. That might have been the paint on the nose. That one was really close. Beautifully done. Nice setup. Had it been another lap, I think he could have held that through turn one. But boy, that was tight. That was tight getting down there. Nice attempt and nice defense. So great driving all around.
A great race all around as well. We want to remind you that Charlie Mobile is sponsoring the Series 12 Clean Driver Award. Charlie Mobile is providing the winner with an Apple iPhone 16 and a year of cell service. That's quite a deal. Thank you, Charlie Mobile, for sponsoring. Let's take us to the results of this race, though, and it was a tight race everywhere but the lead. Lenny Holland won this one by 10 seconds, but then it was tight between John Gibson and Terrence Tong as Terrence ran out of fuel feet before the line, giving John Gibson second position. Terrence comes home in third, just 3 seconds ahead of Kevin Yokel in fourth position. Mario Gonzalez finishes in fifth spot ahead of Ben Lung. Ben not able to catch him on the final lap. Julian Velez in seventh position, just ahead of Andy Jenks by about a second. And then we got David Fernandez in ninth position. Not the day he was hoping for, but still up 4 positions on the day. And Robert Neville rounds out your top 10.
In P11, Adam Gerling, Peter Sigourney with that really tight finish there at the end over Chris Sherburne. And then Dean Chapman, Charlie Boyer, Aaron Ambrosino, Robert Lacroix, Lee Binkley, Dale Green, and your top 20, Steve Komatz. And then 21st, we've got David Snelling, Ward Preston, 22nd, Kim Fricke, 23rd, David Glenn, 24th, and then Andrew Elsom, Peach State Region, 3 laps down in 25th.
Waiting for us in the interview waiting room is the driver who almost made it to the end on fuel, Terrence Tong, who a thimbleful of fuel would have done it to get us back to the line. But yeah, let's see if we can get Terrence in here to talk to us here. Terrence still chatting it up with his team. And Terrence, what a race you had today. Short fueling on the pit stop, trying to make it to the end, but was it fuel that ran out right before the end there?
Yeah, I think I was short by 0.1 or 0.2.
It was so tight between you and John Gibson. John putting some pressure on you right there at the end. You were doing a good job defending him in the midsection. But talk to me about the pit strategy and why you took that strategy. And are you happy with third, even though you ran out right at the end?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, this whole season, it wasn't really great races for me. So P3, it's a good change.
Yeah, absolutely, Terrence. Up one position from fourth, so getting on to the last step of the podium's got to feel pretty good, especially considering how challenging this course is. It really punishes you for your mistakes, and you're able to get up there and get into third.
Yeah, it was very, very challenging, especially I had to watch the mirror the whole night.
Well, Terrence, congratulations on your P3 today. Good battles all day long. Thanks for joining us today in the interview room.
Thank you.
That was Terrence Tong, who finished in third position here. And we have John Gibson, who just finished ahead of him, who's going to be talking to Michael.
Indeed, John. So, was there anyone else out there racing with you? Because I don't think you saw too many other cars after, I don't know, what, lap 2?
It was a really fun race. I enjoyed battling with everybody. Terrence and I were going at it pretty good at the end there.
Yeah, you and Terrence had a little bit at the beginning, but at the end, this was a commanding win. You won by 10.160 seconds. That's a lot at this track. This is a very short track, 9 turns. What was your secret to opening up that gap?
Well, I have to say, I think you guys are looking for Lenny. I think Lenny won this race. I finished second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're exactly right. You were having that battle with Terrence. Oh my,
That's
that
correct.
was quite. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So your race, wow, you had so much airtime tonight. You had all those battles with Mario. Like, you kept catching him, and I stopped counting at one point. I just called it 11 billion times that you caught him, because you would fall back and then you'd catch him. You fall back and catch him. Were you that much faster, or was he making mistakes? What was going on there?
I felt like I had the pace to probably be up front. I just messed up a little bit in qualifying. So it was a little bit frustrating during that mid part of the race where I felt like I had the pace, but I just couldn't get by.
Yeah, it's one thing to catch someone. It's something very different to get back around them. Now, once you got around Mario, it looked like he was able to catch back up to you and give you a little bit of trouble. And then he went wide in turn 9, and then that lost him several positions. Was that like a big wipe the sweat off the brow point and focus forward and go get Terrence point?
It certainly was. I think you're talking about after the pit stop where I did come out ahead of Mario, and then he was on my bumper there. We had a couple of tussles, managed to stay ahead, and then, like you said, I saw he had a trouble coming out, I think, of the last turn there, and yep, that was definitely sweat off the brow moment.
So how frustrating was it with Terrence? You were probably aware he short fueled and was doing a lot of lift and coast. How frustrating was it to go from those low 15s to the mid to high 16 laps and not being able to get around him?
Yeah, I think I've been kind of working my way up the PCA Sim League, and so this is my first time in club, and I think my racecraft is certainly one of those places where I got to start improving, being a little bit more aggressive to get passes done. But right at the end, I realized he must have been doing that because I was on his bumper the whole time, and then he kind of pulled aside right down the finish straight.
Yeah, word has it he ran out of fuel. Just a thimbleful more would have done it for him. But beautiful race, way to cut through the field, really nicely done. Way to keep your head in the game, and just a nice race all around. Who do you have to thank for your podium finish tonight?
So tonight, I'd certainly like to thank my family, my wife, Kristen, my 2 kids, Abigail and Connor. They support me in this. And we have a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to watching the broadcast.
I think you're going to have a great time watching the broadcast because it's pretty much the John Gibson show for about 80% of it. So once again, great race. That was our second place finisher, just squeaking it out at the end, John Gibson. But meanwhile, I think we've got Lenny Holland, our race winner, is here to talk to Adam.
Yeah, there was no squeaking it out for Lenny Holland. Lenny ran away with it right from the start, 1.5 seconds after the first lap. And Lenny, you never looked back from there. Talk to me about your race today.
Yeah, I got lucky. I think there wasn't much grip out there. I hadn't practiced in these conditions, and I don't think any of us have because I'd practiced with some of these guys. So it was tough going, and I guess I just got a little lucky.
And Lenny, you came in second position in the points to David Fernandez. And I mean, today couldn't have gone any better for you in the points or on track. David finishing in ninth position. How's it feel? You're going to be going into the next round in the lead.
Ah, that's great. I'm happy. I mean, never would have thought it.
And so, talk to me about you said that the track conditions were very slick out there today, and there wasn't many people for you to battle with. But how did traffic treat you as well as you were going by? And how did you maintain? What was your strategy for maintaining control of the car?
I was just lapping by myself for the most part. I didn't see very many people. The few people that I did pass, they were very gracious and let me go by. So unfortunately, I didn't have too much racing to do. Just lapping out there and trying not to run off because this is a difficult course. You can make a mistake very easily.
Yeah, we saw many of those mistakes. A lot of people taking a little bit of a tumble in the Charlie Mobile standings for Clean Racer today, but you finishing up there with barely an incident point to your name's got to feel good as well when it comes to the Charlie Mobile Clean Racing standings.
Yeah, I don't even think I'm in the running for that, but it's funny. I didn't have anybody to race with, and I still had incidents. I just can't keep it on the track sometimes.
Well, regardless of whether you can or you can't keep it on the track, you can keep it in the lead, and you did today. A win today for Lenny Holland. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Because you've definitely earned it.
Yeah, I would like to thank Flat Six Adventures for being my sponsor, and then Matrix Motorsports, all those guys. There's a whole list of them over there that have helped me so much in my progression to get to this point. And then everything that PCA guys do, they do a wonderful job. And then you announcers, I mean, it seems like the only time I win is when we're broadcasting and I have you guys. So, I'm pretty much think it's your guys. You're my lucky charm.
Well, we're glad to give you that luck, and it's nice to have you up here in the booth with us. Thanks for joining us, Lenny, and congrats on the win.
Thanks. Have a great night.
That was Lenny Holland, our winner today, and that's going to close us out. We want to give you a reminder that on Wednesday, December 4th, the sport class here is going to be at Willow Springs, and that's just over a week worth of time. I want to give a big thank you also to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as our team tonight, Michael and Hugo. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing on RaceSpotTV. I'm Adam Lindgren reminding you to race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.